And all
Okay.
righty. And good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. If you don't recognize the voice, then thanks for joining what I assume is your first ATS University. Well, I think you picked a good one. Zoeller grinder pumps and the packages, all the Zoeller sizing and basin sizing and various presentations we've done have been really well received over the years. So I'm sure this will be another great one. Zoeller is one of the many manufacturers that are sponsors of the ATS spec system. At the end of the presentation today, I'll show you how you can find the products that we're discussing today on the free online product selection tool everyone hopefully knows and loves, atspec.com. And really, without any further ado, I'll pass it over to you, Farhad, with a quick introduction. Farhad is the new Eastern Canada sales manager for Zoeller. And a great point of contact for our team whenever we have difficult product sessions and maybe need some help with sizing or getting quotes and all the different pieces together. You've been very helpful, and we're happy to have you on the team. One little bit of housekeeping before we do move on too far. As with all of our ATS University sessions, this will be recorded. So we do have everyone muted upon entry, but I'll be keeping an eye on the chat along the way. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put it into the Q&A field there. I'll keep an eye and raise it when we have a chance. And of course, all of our sessions do have a certificate of attendance that we'll be sending out usually Friday afternoons. Those all get sent out so that you can self-report for either if you're in Ontario, there's the PEO credits. I know Alberta, BC has similar self-reporting options. So lots of different ways that you can take that certificate and use it for whatever hours that you need to accumulate. So with that, I'll pass it over to you. Thank you very much for joining Farhad, and excited to hear what you have to say today.
Well, thank you, Zach, and good afternoon, everybody. I want to start off by telling you a little bit about myself. My name is Farhad Abdullah. I have been with Zoeller for over 4 months now. I'm the Eastern Canada sales manager at our Zoeller Canada location. I've been in the industry for over 15 years in different roles at a distributor level, then with manufacturers, and within those positions, working with engineers, mechanical and general contractors and distributors. I intend to talk today about the Zoeller Shark Series family of grinder pumps and packages. First, we'll discuss the Zoeller Pump Company division, where you will find light residential grinders, half horsepower, up to medium, heavy residential commercial units at a max of 2 horsepower. The second part of the presentation will be focused on the Zoeller Engineered Products line, also known as ZEP. ZEP offers grinders from 1 to 15 horsepower for heavier duty commercial or municipal applications. And then at the end, I'll just touch on the quick John systems.
In 1939, August Pop Zoeller was building pedestal pumps in the basement of his family's home in Louisville, Kentucky. In 1949, when production became invasive to his home life, he bought a small plot of land to give his dream a foundation. With the support of his family behind him, he took that plot of land and planted the seed that would one day grow into the thriving company that we know today. During the beginning of the growth, the two arms of the company, manufacturing and sales, were managed by Pop's sons. In the 60s and 70s, the sales arm began to stretch its way across the country, expanding through strong relationships that were built face to face. Today, people around the world depend on the Zoeller family of companies and their products to move and treat water. But what is it that really sets a Zoeller pump apart from all the rest? Why choose Zoeller? The Zoeller brand is trusted. Zoeller is a family-owned company that has been an established name in the industry for almost 80 years. With a commitment to empower American workers across the country, not only is the Zoeller brand here to stay, but it has never left. Devoted to the pursuit of excellence and continued improvement, Zoeller supports education and training for current generations involved in the plumbing industry and those to come with their Center for Excellence training facility. Established in 2015, this hands-on training center is responsible for building and nurturing a reliable network of professionals to meet customer needs. All Zoeller products are thoroughly tested. Zoeller pumps are thoroughly tested throughout the manufacturing process, again and again and again, to ensure all pumps that leave the facility in Louisville, Kentucky can match their published performance before making their way to you. You should have confidence in knowing your Zoeller product will work as it should, when it should, whatever the application, without fuss or headache, to keep your home dry, protected, and operational. Zoeller pumps are tough. These dependable pumps are constructed with heavy-duty cast iron and coated with a powdered epoxy finish to create the strongest and longest-lasting pump on the market. The reserve power design, combined with the industry-proven snap action switch, means your Zoeller pump won't quit when you need it the most. From humble beginnings to a brand known worldwide, Zoeller Company is proud of its dedication to its core values of quality, service, innovation, and integrity. Every product they make, every person they hire, and every relationship they develop is still built upon these standards. So why choose Zoeller? Zoeller pumps are the pumps the pros use. You can't fake over 79 years of experience and expertise. If it doesn't say Zoeller, then it's not a Zoeller pump.
Zoeller Canada was established in 2007 as one of Zoeller's international sales offices. We're located in Brantford, Ontario, and we share a 135,000 square foot facility with Tulsar Controls. It's Zoeller's controls division. Let's dive into today's topic. I'm going to start off by sharing with you some of the history of grinder pumps. In the 60s and 70s, there was an increased expansion into suburban areas coupled with a need to move sewage further to treatment facilities. Suburban areas are less suitable for on-site treatment, septic tanks, and not all building sites suited for gravity flow. The introduction of low-flow toilets coupled with the same amount of solids and debris proved hard on standard sewage pumps. Also, there was an increased usage of flushable wipes and other non-sewage products being flushed down toilets. Grinder pumps are designed to operate on small diameter piping, typically 1 1/4 to 3-inch discharge. They help eliminate some of the issues that sewage pumps may encounter. They are typically used in pressure sewer systems or systems with clogging problems. Grinders are not a solids handling pump. Grinders essentially are a 2-stage machine. First, they grind solids to smaller particles and then pump the wastewater to treatment facility or elsewhere. They have high pressure and head capabilities, but lower flows when compared to a standard sewage ejector. Because of the cutting action and smaller solid size, the tolerance on your impeller can be tighter, which allows you to get that higher head. The reason you get lower flows is because the small opening size on the cutter plate restricts the amount of material that can enter into the pump housing. They're primarily meant for pumping sanitary sewage, and Zoeller is the only manufacturer of a double-sealed reversing grinder pump, and we'll cover some more of that further on in the presentation. All pumps are 100% factory tested before shipping, meaning that each pump before it leaves the facility is submerged in water and tested for its published performance curve before making its way to you. The grinder pump starts at 0.5 horsepower and go up to 15 horsepower. The offering consists of standard and hazardous duty explosion-proof pumps, unidirectional and reversing. There are both single and double seal models available. Here are a few standard characteristics of the grinder pumps share among the series. All of our grinder pumps are constructed of cast iron with a corrosion-resistant powder coating epoxy finish and stainless steel hardware built for years of reliable service. The actual cutters are actually cutting with scissor-like capability, and it's a hardened stainless steel cutter and disc. Our grinder pumps use a vortex impeller after the solids are shredded into small pieces. They have an oil-filled, hermetically sealed motor with a Class B insulation, automatic reset thermal overload protected, and their maximum operating temperature is 130 degrees Fahrenheit or 54 Celsius. The cutters, so we have the top cutter that is a single directional grinder. The best way to explain the operation of the grinder cutter is it kind of acts like a cheese grater without the rotation. With proven tri-slice cutter technology, we have 3 independent cutting channels that provide over 250,000 cuts per minute. The stainless steel cutter and plate have a 5560C hardness. So essentially, with the cutter mechanism, it grinds the solids down to smaller particles of 1/4 inch or less, usually utilizing a scissor action and the cheese grater type plate with its small holes. The particles then get pushed to the vortex impeller and then pumped through the unit. The lower picture shows the reversing grinder with its cutter. The cutter can automatically alternate direction upon each new cycle to enhance blade life and free hangups. The 5-star cutter blade, along with the modified cutter plate, enable the pump to cut in both directions. Grinder pump models under the Zoeller brand offers units that are recommended for lighter residential commercial applications up to 2 horsepower max. These include the 803, 805, 807 fractional horsepower series, the 818, 819, 820 series, the 841, 842, and 840 reversing grinder, and finally the 810 and 815 progressive cavity units. These fractional horsepower grinders can handle an entire household of flushable materials. There are 3 sizes available: automatic and non-automatic, 115 volt or 230 volt single phase only at 3450 RPM. Half horsepower model 803, 3/4 horsepower model 805, and then the 1 horsepower model, which is the 807. These units have auto reset thermal overload protection, internal capacitor and start relay, carbon ceramic single mechanical seal design, and a 1 1/4 vertical discharge. Zoeller has the first integral automatic grinder. Used in the 915 systems, package complete and job ready, great for fast installations, indoor or outdoor applications. 915 package systems come in 2 different sizes: 18 by 30 fiberglass or poly 24 by 24 in poly only, with high water alarm and 1 1/4 inch check valve with union.
And if I can just pause you there.
Yeah.
I know one thing that's come up frequently over the years, working with Zoeller here, that those 915 series is certainly a model number to keep in mind for anyone on the call. For any of your retrofit applications, those have been lifesavers. Those challenges that you get into during a design where, you're stuck in a basement, you got to send something up. If it's not designed around it, these fit into such a small footprint that they've been really lifesavers for a number of projects. So a good model to keep in mind there.
All right, this Shark 818, 819, and 820 series of grinders are engineered for heavier residential applications and pressure sewer systems. Models 818 is 1 horsepower, 819 1.5, and 820 2 horsepower. Not automatic or automatic models with integral control available. Both durable, heavy-duty, thin cast iron construction and thermally protected oil-filled motor allow the pump to run cooler. Upper lower ball bearings, stainless steel cutter blade and plate, stainless steel shaft with stainless steel hardware, 20-foot power cord, extra lengths are also available. This series offers a step up from the previous one, capable of more residential units and just heavier duty applications. The 841 series is the higher flow and the 842 models less flow. All units are 2 horsepower, 3450 RPM, automatic reset thermal overload protection in the single phase, and thermal sensor protection in the 3-phase. tandem mechanical seals with seal detection, leak detection, balanced bronze vortex impeller, stainless steel shaft. The Shark 840, the 840 grinder, has a star cutter that can automatically alternate direction to enhance blade life and free hangups, automatic or manual. Zoeller offers the industry's only automatic reversing impeller and cutter assembly, virtually doubles the service of ordinary grinder pumps. Every time the pump operates, it will reverse direction. The panel shall incorporate the automatic reversing function, which enables the cutter blades and impeller to rotate in either the clockwise or counterclockwise direction. With each duty cycle, the cutters will rotate in the opposite direction from a previous operational cycle.
So just a quick question there, because it's come up many times over the years as we introduced that Shark 840. If you want to go back to that last slide, really quickly, could you explain kind of why the reversing grinder matters? Like, the statement's always, if the plan is for the grinder to chew up the material, why does it matter if it reverses?
Right. So lots of times you'll see it actually on our YouTube channel as well. Let's say if there's jeans going into it, so we'll grind it in one direction, and chances are that jeans will not go through on that single direction. So then it'll reverse it. Instead of getting jammed, it reverses it, and it can cut through the rest of the jeans. That's one thing. Now, the other thing is also for longer life. So if you have wipes and stuff going into it, it'll at least, it'll go in two different directions. So you're increasing the lifespan as well.
Great, thank you.
Designed for high pressure sewer systems and residential sewage removal, our Shark Grinder series progressing cavity grinder pump offer a head capacity of 250 feet or up to 250 feet. These are built for years of reliable service. An internal pressure relief valve protects the motor and hydraulic components from extreme spikes in sewer pressure. The primary differentiator in a progressing cavity pump is the rotor stator that drives the water, as opposed to an impeller in a centrifugal pump. The rotor is a stainless steel piece with a wavy corkscrew shape, which is connected to the pump shaft. The stator is a rubber boot that the rotor sits inside of. The interference between the rotor and stator creates little pockets of water that work their way up into the volute as the rotor spins. These pockets of water then create pressure inside the volute and force water out of the side discharge. Flow rates range from 6 GPM to 15 GPM. The model 810 is a 1 horsepower, 230 volt. 815 is a 2 horsepower, 230 volt, both in single phase. Stainless steel hydraulic pump rotor, pressure relief valve, stainless steel mounting stand for freestanding installation, and then pre-assembled systems are also available. Grinder pump models under the ZEP or ZEP brand are engineered for heavy-duty wastewater applications with a number of options: upgraded mechanical seals and elastomers, moisture and temperature sensors, horizontal flange and impeller trims. Models include the 7008, 7009, and 7010, 7011, 12, and 13, 7110, 7111, and 7112, and then finally the 7020 and 7021 progressive cavity units. These units have similar characteristics and performance to the Zoeller pump brand 818, 819, and 820. Standard motor, 1 and 3 phase, 3450 RPM, 1 horsepower, which is a 7008, 1.5 horsepower, 7009, and then the 2 horsepower, 7010. Automatic reset thermal overload protected, single phase, and then thermal sensors protection for the 3 phase. Square ring seal and gasket are Viton, mechanical seal, silicone carbide, carbon ceramic with butane elastomers, 1.25 inch NPT vertical discharge. Power and sensor cable length is 20 feet. Sewage lift stations, housing developments, hospitals, larger private developments, standard and hazardous duty, model 7011 reversing, 7012 high head, 7013 high flow, 2 horsepower pumps, single phase, 200 and 230 volt. Now there's no 115 volt because now you're going into the higher pumps. Now these are larger units. 3-phase, 200, 230, 460, 575, 3450 RPM, Viton O-rings and silicone carbide shaft seal, moisture detection, standard, thermal sensor with leads, 3-phase, and then standard and single-phase integral thermal overload. Now we're going into bigger units, higher head applications and higher flow, 30 different variations, standard and hazardous duty. Applications where these pumps will be suited for are sewage lift stations, housing developments, essentially municipal projects, large commercial projects, low pressure sewer systems that have high vertical lift or long force mains, pump characteristics, 2-inch NPT, 2.5 and 3-inch flange discharge, high head, high flow and reversing capabilities, single phase 230 and the 3 and 5 horsepower only, 3-phase 200, 230, 460 and 575 volt, 3450 RPM. Thermal sensor and moisture sensor with leads, ball bearings, upper and lower carbon chromium steel bearings. Power sensor cable is 25 feet. As you can see here, the 71 series grinder pump has a max shutoff head of 183 feet. This is the capability of these units based on the higher horsepower and larger discharge. What else do we have? And you'll also notice that in this 71 series, you can actually go from 3 horsepower to 7.5 horsepower as far as the reversing grinder goes. Applications include sanitary sewage pumping stations, pressure sewer systems, housing developments, hospitals, larger private developments, and commercial projects. 2 sizes, standard motor, single phase 1750 RPM, internal capacitors and start relay, 1 horsepower model 7020, 2 horsepower model 7021, 1.25 NPT horizontal discharge, hydraulic rotor with deflector, stainless steel rotor and Buna end stator, pressure relief valve, stainless steel mounting stand for freestanding installation, also available pre-assembled. Applications include sanitary sewage pumping stations, pressure sewer systems, housing developments, hospitals, larger private developments, and commercial projects. 2 sizes, standard motor, single phase, 1750 RPM, internal capacitors and start relay, 1 horsepower model 7020, 2 horsepower 7021, 1.25 NPT horizontal discharge, hydraulic rotor with deflector, stainless steel rotor, Buna end stator, pressure relief valve, stainless steel mounting stands for freestanding installations, and pre-assembled systems also available. This chart can be found in the owner's manual. What this chart shows are the limits of grinder pumps and what point you need to switch to a solids handling unit. For applications where a lift station would handle more than 60 homes, a solids handling type pump would be recommended. Here we have some curves showing the difference between the 7111 high head grinders with low flow to 6124 solids handling pumps that can offer greater flow. It's a matter of understanding the system requirement and putting the right pump in the right application. Vortex impellers can create vortex style centrifugal force pushing fluid against the pump volute. Impeller vanes do not come in contact with fluid being pumped. Very reliable non-clogging design. Though vortex impellers are less hydraulically efficient than other impeller designs, the vortex can create within the pump volute, effectively keeping material and debris away. Itself results in fewer system clogs and less maintenance. Generally used on pumps 2 horsepower and under. Then you have the semi-open and closed impeller, create centrifugal force, but fluid solids must pass through the impeller vanes. Though these impeller designs are more hydraulically efficient than the vortex impeller, vanes do come in contact with fluid and solids and potentially more prone to clogging and jamming, and these are over 2 horsepower. With this graph, you can see that the reading for a housing with no fins is 230 degrees Fahrenheit. Next is the pump that only has the fin on the adapter, approximately 10 degrees less. Already we are seeing a difference. Last is the pump with the fin motor, housing and adapter. In total, it's 15 degrees Fahrenheit difference. This clearly shows the external cooling fins allow the pump to run cooler, which also improves motor performance and extended life. A hazardous duty or explosion-proof rated pump has a specially enclosed motor. Should vapor gas explode inside the motor, the frame of the motor will not be affected. The enclosure is constructed so that no such explosion will ignite vapors outside the motor. Zoeller explosion-proof pumps are CSA approved, Class 1, Div 1, Group C and D. Zoeller pump brand of pumps only available in 840, 841, 842 series. ZEP brand, it starts from 7011 series up. Applications, garages, sorry about that. Storm pumps, municipal sewage, leachgate, elevators, government projects, office, healthcare, airports, petroleum facilities, train auto applications, grain elevators. After figuring out which pump you need for your application, you now have to choose which way you are going to control it. If it's not just a standard pump with an integral float switch or a piggyback float switch, you have to now consider control panels, simplex with 3 floats or duplex with 4 floats. The pump assembly can be easily lowered into position without disturbing the piping by using a Z-rail disconnect system to assist in removal of the pump out of the concrete or fiberglass or steel pit. Then you consider the accessories like the check valves, cast iron, PVC, plug valves with handles, etc. Lastly, they might require an external high water alarm, or if you have an integral float switch or are using a piggyback float, then the high water alarm is a great option. Complete grinder package systems, factory assembled for quicker, easier installation at job site. We can also provide unassembled systems as well. Pumps and accessories come as separate items, less piping. So this is now the inside of the fiberglass pit, where here on the left side, you have the pump and on top of the Z-rail assembly. And on the right, you have a vault system. So you have only the valves inside. Let me jump in here quickly and discuss the Quick John system. Houses are no longer just a home. They have evolved into, gyms, schools, entertainment, office space. So Zoeller came up with a way to redesign your living space and add a bathroom anywhere you choose using the Quick John. It provides functionality without the mess of digging and costly installation. Good option for the home and wallet. So you have the Quick John Premier and Quick John Choice. So the Quick John Choice has a macerator in it. Quick John Premier comes with a grinder. The Quick John Choice comes with a 1/3 horsepower macerator pump and is made for residential use for toilet paper and organic waste only, while the Premier has a 1/2 horsepower grinder pump and is made for use with toilet paper, organic waste, and sanitary items. Standard toilets drain to piping in the floor, so be sure to buy the right one with the spigot drain at the back of the toilet. We carry both toilet and tank, making the set NEPA WaterSense compliant toilet with 1.28 gallons per flush. Zoeller has several videos out there that show the grinder in action, taking care of a few different household products. In these videos, you can clearly see the grinder wants to pass the product through its cutters. It does not deflect the product. It truly acts as a shark in a feeding frenzy, just grinding up all the products that it comes into its path. And then it shreds it into small particles. You can check out these videos on Zoeller's YouTube channel. This concludes the webinar.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's fantastic. We'll pause here and see if any additional questions come in. I know one of the recurring questions was, whether or not we were going to touch on, sizing from drainage fixture units into, finding the right pump. I think today was more about, the details of the pumps, what separates them and how to understand, when you need to jump from, say, product A to B. But I did send a link in chat that includes our quick sizing guide from a presentation we did last year. As well, shortly I'll show how you could find any of the previously recorded sessions on our ATS University site as well. Quickly, I did want to highlight a couple of things. I think one thing that is almost easy to brush over, we had that video at the beginning with the various features of the Zoeller plant and the high level of product quality that they focus on delivering due to all the testing. And I think one of the other things that is easily missed is, a lot of manufacturers say that. Having been there personally, both to the Center of Excellence for Product Training as well as walking around the factory, I don't think I've ever seen the level of testing and quality assurance on any other factory tour that I've been on. So I would highlight that, and I think you showed the temperature differences between the different fin designs. It's one of those things that's easily overlooked when all you're doing. We get into so commonly just specifying A equals B equals C, but truly there are some product differences in quality. A fin that's simply just mounted on, welded on after it's been cast is going to have a significantly lower life expectancy, and those the quality of the fin design really does effectively dissipate heat, which also takes us back to our sizing discussion, where you need to ensure that you have a minimum working level that completely submerges the pump. So we cover all those in a previously recorded session, which I'll show where you can find it. But I want to as well circling on any additional questions come up before I show how you can find the different products on ATS spec system. So first question, what are the different types of float switches and any sort of advantages or disadvantages? Farhad, do you have any information on that you can share?
So typically there are standard floats, and you have floats either for panels, so pilot duty floats, and you also have floats that you can connect as a piggyback float to your pump itself. Now, in a lot of our pumps, we have a mechanical float that's already attached. You can buy it as that, and it's already connected to the pump. The good part about that is that it's a mechanical switch. It's been tested for 1 million cycles. So we know that it's very reliable. That's one option. Now, sometimes, of course, if you get into the 575 volt pumps or 3-phase pumps, you don't want to use that type of float. You would use a mechanical wide angle float. That's typically what it is.
Perfect. And is there any type of airlock prevention that is built into the pump?
There is an airlock. There is one hole already into the pumps, but however, they do suggest that you add another hole between the pump and the check valve.
And there was a follow-up question actually on the floats, whether or not there's any sorts of sensor that would operate as the float instead.
There is a reed sensor that's available, which you can connect to the pump, yes.
Oh, perfect. So circling back to, I guess, kind of grinder pumps in general, and maybe, I think the answer to this one might be the reversing grinder and some of the advantages of it. Obviously one of the things top of mind is products that have plastic incorporated being flushed down a toilet or in a system. And what is Zoeller's experience with handling certain toiletry products that have plastic included in them?
So our grinders are tested for that, and we haven't had issues on that on the plastics. I find that sometimes there's different materials. So for example, let's say a plastic water bottle was to go in. The water bottle is a different plastic, but the cap that's on the water bottle is a different plastic. So you tend to have issues when it's the cap itself, and it'll pass the bottle, no problem, but the cap will be hard to actually, not that it's hard to pass it through, but it's hard to grab it so that it can go through.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that comes up, whether it, any sort of products that maybe has plastic woven in it, think of like some of the wipes that come in, there's little fat plastic wires really that are right in the base of it. Those will absolutely just get chewed up. And if not, what happened will, sometimes those little plastic strings may wrap around the shaft. And that's really where the reversing product comes in. Any thin, long piece that might get wrapped around the shaft, if it's only going unidirectional, would be spewed out and then chopped up the next time. With the reversing grinder. That's really one of the key advantages and why it has such a long life expectancy. But yeah, great question. We'll give it a second here, see if any other questions come in. I guess one thing I'll pose to the audience as we're transitioning here, do you tend to leave, or do you still tend to see more, say, solids handling pumps in your specs, or have you transitioned to grinder pumps, maybe for your firm's master or for a particular application type, as you've seen iterations of the design?
We're starting to see more of like the 71 series of reversing grinders. People seem to prefer it now, so we're seeing more of that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear from the engineers as well if they're changing their master specs or changing like their maybe an application specific master. It'd be interesting to learn as well. Can these pumps work on standby power?
As in, so you're talking about like an emergency, like
That'd be my guess. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of detail, but I would think, yeah, say a hospital where they have a backup emergency generator. I would assume they still operate in that, right?
Yeah.
And then if you are doing residential, I know Zoeller does have a few, single family home products with a backup generator built in with the pump, right?
Right.
Well, do you want to stop sharing your screen for a second, and I'll show the folks how they can find the products on ATS. Perfect. Thank you very much. So first and foremost, I did want to bring up, I sent the link in the chat there as well. But if you want to find, how to size a sump pump, how to size a basin, that information is available if you go to architects and engineers on the atspec.com website, and then go down to Learning Hub and our knowledge base, which this is going to get cleaned up a little bit easier to find in the future. But for now, that's where all of the previously recorded sessions and our quick sizing guides are. So you'll find information on how to size a grease interceptor, how to select your backflow, as well as a nice handy pump sizing checklist that you can put your email in there and download, and walks through the questions and everything as well. Our team as well is certainly available. So if you ever need a hand sizing your pump, feel free to reach out to myself, our spec team. I'll show you how you can submit a request to our spec team, or if you have an MD personnel for your office, like Mo, Natalia, Melanie in Canada, they're all available to assist with both presentations on any of these topics or on a particular project where you may need help sizing a pump or any other product on our system. So again, the atspec.com website is our home. That's where we're going to find all the information that we'll cover here. If it's your first time seeing this, a couple of the quick hitter points is that it's all login based and built around a particular user. So you sign up as a firm and have your information in there. Additionally, it does help you keep track of your own information and kind of group it within your firm and share projects within a firm. As well, there's a lot of valuable information right from that basic homepage. In the architects and engineers tab, like I mentioned, where you can find our learning hub, our templates, which I'll cover in a little bit more detail shortly. All of it is paid for by the manufacturers like Zoeller that have joined on our tool and become sponsors of our tool. We're happy to have them, and that's how we have all the various products that's available on the website. Once you're logged in, there's a few different ways that you can start building your product selections. We call them quick specs, project folders, and masters. So quick spec, just as it sounds, you need a single product. Let's use our pump example. We just need a quick pump selection. I can go SP1, hit finish, and start finding my product right away. If you're doing anything a little bit more detailed and convoluted than that, it's maybe a full project. You need more than just one pump. You need your pump, your drain, your water heater, your backflow, your emergency equipment, all that good stuff. You can go and create a new project where you put in a project name, location, square footage, and bid date. This will not only apply our rule engine, which is not applied in a quick spec. Our rule engine is location-based code information that helps recommend the right product for the right application. Beyond that, you then get access to our templates as well as you're setting up the project. So you would select your application type. You can use our ATS template to get started right away. And I typically anticipate being a little behind on the system. So I've already gone in and created a project already for the demo. So you can see I've got Zoeller pump webinar here where I put in those that location detail information, selected a few products. And from here, you can then quickly download any information you need. You have to select the drawings from your product group first. You can add additional product groups. We can add additional products. So if I hit the plus button, it takes me to our add product selection page. So here you can search by model number. So we were talking about the 7011 a bunch. You could search by model number. We can search by series as well. So if we wanted to search, say, for the Shark instead, we could search for the Shark pump. Or personally, my favorite way to navigate the system is just by finding the category. You can search within categories. So I could search for pump and find anything related to that. Same as with chiller or condenser, anything like that. As well, you can see we've got a extensive library of various categories here. So the question becomes, how can you easily streamline that search? And that's where these pins come in. You can pin and unpin your favorite products. So if I want to unpin the pumps, you'll see it disappears from the top here. But if I just quickly go pop, it'll be back at the top. And that way, whenever I come back to add a new product, my most frequently used products are at the top. So we'll jump into the pump category here. So with the ATS spec system, what you get is, we call it the configured product selection. Sure, you could download just a manufacturer spec sheet from any website these days, including the Zoeller website itself, which has all the detailed installation information, diagrams, all that info that you may need as well. But if we are looking to help us select a product, what we have to do is configure and filter. So here we can filter down by category. So we can search by grinder, we can search by hazardous locations, those residential mini grinder pumps that we talked about for the toilets. We could filter down by horsepower or voltage or number of seals, anything like that. But if I want to go grinder first, you can see the most frequently selected product for this application shows up at the top. I can show additional products here, so we can look at all 43 of these grinder pump options. And it's like, well, even from here, I'm a bit confused. What's the right one for me? So let me sort by voltage. We'll go with a 575 and see a handful of products that are available. So we could then go to our 7011 like we discussed, and now we can configure. So again, we're not just getting the basic, blank unfilled spec sheet, we're getting the configured solution. If you want the manufacturer spec sheet, those are integrated into the system as well. I can hit the spec sheet button and get the base model. But if I want to configure it, we'll go with the standard vortex impeller. We'll do the standard ductile iron. You can see the voltage is already selected because I filtered by that already. We'll go with a standard silicon carbide and an upgraded silicon carbide for the upper shaft seal. We don't want any water getting in. And we can hit add product. Once it's configured, the add product button turns available. And then as there's any other products that need to be selected to go along with this, it'll recommend those as well. So, with a water heater, you need an expansion tank. With a toilet, if it's a wall hung flush valve toilet, you need a flush valve. Here we've got everything we need. We are good to go. We can hit add to drawing, and that would take us back to add an additional fixture, or I could have hit complete, and that would take me back to my project page. Here you can edit the drawing label. We could call this SP grinder option 3. I can change the sequence. If I want this to show up before the previous one, I can do so and add in any additional notes I need. From there, all you need to do is, again, check this box to select all, or if we don't want the solids handling one to print out, then we don't need it. We can deselect that. We'll hit download, and then you can download in any one of the formats that you so choose. So if you want the ATS submittal, if you want a fixture schedule or a pump schedule in Excel, we have various written specs, both long and short form, the manufacturer spec sheet, the Reva files, a 3-part spec, lots of different options. And one of the few places where you can multi-select and download a variety of formats. I really don't know anywhere else that will give you a multi-download various output formats of configured product solutions. Most other places are really just going to give you the base model series. Now, of course, I pre-downloaded a few of these for you. So just to show, our pump schedule here with the various products, the various information that you may need, our written spec, and of course, all of our formats are open and editable. So if you want to take this information, cut it out and put it in directly to your internal written spec, the output spec that you're going to market with, you can do so. I downloaded the submittal page as well. If you're not familiar with their ATS submittal page, it takes multiple manufacturers or multiple products and put them onto one page. And then, of course, the manufacturer spec sheets that I mentioned as well, all these are integrated into the system. So you get a nice handy table of contents, the products that you selected, and the manufacturer spec sheets for all the products. So a little bit more detailed on this package, but nice that you can access all those different pieces of information all in the one place just by hitting this download all files button. Now, let's say that you wish to round out the rest of the selection. Some pump is unlikely to be a pump on its own. There may be more included in the scope of your project. That's where either your internal masters, so masters would be, your firm's masters, the products that you use regularly. I just had an engineer reach out to me looking to update. They do a number of bank projects. So I take their bank system, will build a master for them that they can then just copy and paste. They'll stay constantly up to date. And then all they have to do the next time they have a project is go to the action and copy it into from the master into a new project. Similarly here, let's say the rest of this project, we'll look at a drainage master just to round it out. We could go into our drainage where, you know, something's got to be feeding the sump pump. So we've got an area drain, maybe a funnel floor drain as well. And we'll go with a parking drain. All of these may be feeding into that sump pump that we discussed. So I can search by project. I could add this to a quick spec, or I could create a brand new project right from here. But I'm going to go into my Zoeller pump webinar and copy it into this product group. And now in a matter of seconds, instead of reselecting those every time, which obviously can get tedious, it'll simply copy and paste and put those fixtures directly into our project file. So then again, you can download as you please. So that's the longer version of a demo. I haven't get to do that in a while. Usually I'm running over time. I see a couple additional questions have come up, so I'll stop sharing for now. If there's any additional questions that come up, please feel free to bring them now. If you'd like a more detailed presentation on sizing, I know a number of people have sent in their email here. We'll send you the previously recorded sizing session, as well if you want one specifically for your firm. I know Farhad and I are planning on doing a number of presentations over the coming quarters. So be sure to reach out and we can set up a sizing discussion, particularly for your firm. So question coming in on the spec tool, does it provide you costing on your selection? And does it allow you to forward completed spec for pricing? So I will say we don't have 100% pricing from our manufacturers at this point. We're probably around 60–65%. The goal is obviously to get higher and higher percentage. The pricing that we have available is on the system. And you can check a box that will include the list pricing for your costing purposes. If there's product that's missing there, you know, prices that are unavailable, certainly reach out to whoever your account manager is, whether it's myself, Mo, Mel, Nat, Phil, whoever it is, even our spec team. You can just reach out and say, hey, can you get us list pricing on this? Give us the timeline and we'll be sure to get that back to you on time so that you can move on with your costing. Certainly happy to help out with that. That's a big part of what we do. Question coming in, anything particularly recommended on greasy pumping? This charge is too low, so it can't pass through a grease interceptor first. This actually came up relatively recently. Grease and fat, obviously there's concerns about settling, but there's also concerns when it is, you know, being ground up too quickly. Farhad, do you have any recommendations on, you know, passing grease through a pumping discharge?
Not really. I have seen people, you know, with a certain percentage, of course, of grease or oil through the pumps, but generally, no.
Try to avoid it is, I guess, the answer, right?
Yeah.
I saw you gave our email there. So if you want to send us a more detailed question on it, just shoot it to my email, zach@atspec.com, and we can have a more detailed conversation with you. Maybe we can find an interceptor that works, or unlikely based on the situations you're looking at. So maybe we can find a pump that'll work for you. Is there any concern about using a grinder for grease? Would it coagulate?
It's not that it's only coagulating. It's possible, depending on, you know, whatever the water temperature is. But just the, you know, specific gravity would change. So depending on how much oil or grease is going in there, we'd have to take that into account with, how it's going to affect your flow and head.
Yeah, so I think for a situation like that, shoot us an email, again, zach@atspec.com. We'll get in touch with the Zoeller engineering team with your specifics on flow, your TDH that you have there, and any sort of characteristics, and maybe we can work with them to get a good product recommendation for you. A bit of a unique situation from the sounds of it. Well, without any further ado, thank you very much, Farhad. That was fantastic. A lot of great questions. It sounds like Alex is understanding where we're coming from. There's a bit of a unique situation, but thank you all for joining us. Hopefully it was an informative session for you. I've taken note of all the follow-up, and we'll certainly be in touch. Like I mentioned at the top of the hour, we'll have the certificates of attendance set out on Friday this week. We tend to send them all out on Friday. And if you would like to learn more, like I mentioned, the atspec.com, go over to the knowledge base section, and you'll find all the video tutorials available there. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next week for the next one. Bye for now.
Thank you.